And Daniel, I can never get my way. I can never get my way with like a magic wand in matchmaking. But please, somebody, please reserve Hooker for Max Holloway, and let's do it for the title. We gotta put the belt up.
Dude, you just actually made the next BMF title fight.
What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Chael, he's Daniel. We're happy you're all here. Daniel, the day after of the great SummerSlam. How are you feeling?
Tired, man. I got up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, me and my daughters, to come to LA. So luckily I have a great partner who is always willing to adjust. There are people in television, Chael, that would go, no, this does not work for me. But Chael goes, hey, listen, I just watch my news before the show opposed to after the show, and we're good. So, like, that's good to me. And SummerSlam was good. It delivered. It really did, especially on night 2, because the beast came back. I couldn't believe I saw Brock back.
Hey, they popped for him. Daniel, I'm glad that I'm really glad that happened, actually. But they popped for him, man, and it works. Long-haired Brock. Like, whenever you bring a guy back, you got to tweak him, even if it's only a little bit. They tweaked him a little bit with the hair. I thought it worked.
I thought it worked, and I thought he looked tremendous. He looked huge going back out there, and still looks like a guy that could run the WWE. Hey, but one guy that's running mixed martial arts, or at least his division, was Islam Makhachev. Khabib will periodically do these sit-downs where people pay, and they have a conversation with Khabib. I don't know if he takes fan questions, but there's always a moderator and an interviewer. Khabib is talking to the interviewer the other day, and he starts to talk, and he's comfortable. And you could see Ali fidgeting, and he goes, look at this guy. This guy is like panicking. No, he has deal with UFC. I don't have a deal with the UFC. Islam's fighting in Madison Square Garden. Like, what did you make of that? And like, how exciting is it to hear that we now have a date for what could potentially be a massive super fight at welterweight between Islam and JDM?
Okay, well, and I'm so glad that you said that, because my first thought, and I'm trying to process, we have so many shows and so many dates to keep track of. I knew that JDM and Islam has been announced. In fact, it was announced almost 3 months ago. So I was thinking, wait a minute, is he fighting sooner? And they're talking about he's going to return at MSG, or is this just actually the welterweight fight? So you have cleared that up. I think it's appropriate. I think that they're going to be very surprised how well Jack sells. I think that Jack right now is the most underappreciated champion in the organization. I believe they view him as a interim champion, an interim just meaning until transition champion's the word I'm looking for, until we transition into Islam. I feel that big push has not come behind Jack. And I think that Jack is in a wonderful opportunity to not only defend his belt, to gain esteem with the audience and the organization. I think he's in a spot, and this is what nobody's talking about, to chase down Topuria for that number 1 pound for pound. Jack is going to look a lot different to all of us if he beats Islam at the Garden.
Well, that's absolutely true, right? It's a massive opportunity for both. Obviously, Islam has the opportunity and ability to become a 2-division UFC champion. But for Jack Della Maddalena, like you said, Chael, so many hold Islam in such high regard that when he becomes, or if he becomes champion, he goes back to number 1 pound for pound, which is right where he was to begin with. Jack Della beat Bilal Muhammad and still hasn't gotten that rub yet. He needed to beat a guy or fight a guy that elevates you. We talk about this constantly, how standing in the ring with John Jones elevated me to the point that when I fought Stipe, it could elevate him, or Volkan Ozdemir, all those other guys. I don't know if Bilal did that for Jack. This will be an opportunity for Jack to elevate himself by fighting one of the best fighters in the world, and a guy that has a big name and a massive following. Here's the thing, though. Islam tried to tell us this a long time ago. He said, I would like to fight in Madison Square Garden. When these long-reigning champions start to say, hey, I would like this, I would prefer this, they're only not telling us directly because the UFC doesn't like for you to do that. They're kind of giving you hints. He said he wanted to headline the biggest arena in the world, and now he gets that opportunity. But talk about Jack Della, right? Going from fighting for the belt in Canada to now headlining MSG. Crazy.
I just love what you just did a moment ago, where you just kind of let the audience in on a glimpse, because you and I, as much as they think we're armed with inside information that we're keeping secrets from them, we're not. We've just gotten a little better at the detective skills. If you have two guys coming at each other in the media and everything's going well, and all of a sudden they just go away, they stop saying anything, that means the fight has been signed.
Yep.
It's right. As soon as they start talking, that means we have bout agreements and we're going to wait for the press conference. And I just hear your point, Daniel. One thing, if I could leave you with this thought on Islam, I can remember 2 years ago when Islam couldn't get this opportunity, 3 years ago when he couldn't get the opportunity because he wasn't famous enough. I can remember 3 years ago when Khabib wanted Islam to be the heir apparent, and all of the fans are saying, but you can't main event him. You can't headline him. That was actually very true right up until the switch from Sarukian to Money Moicano. And there was something within that audience that Islam was so willing to risk it all on 24 hours notice. And I was there. I watched that audience turn. It was a massive Rocky moment where they did not care about Islam. They were on their feet. As that night closed out, before we faded to black and rolled the credits, a star was born. And if that star's reward is to take the show and carry the company to Madison Square Garden, I can't think of a bigger compliment.
You know, I've been in that situation before where you may not be the guy that, and I don't even know why Islam gets flack anymore. Like, he has not only won, but he's finishing fights now. I think that is when the connection started. And it happened for Khabib too. You remember Khabib for a while was a guy that won a lot of decisions. People just weren't in on him. He had to win a lot of fights to get a title opportunity. But then something clicked and he destroyed Michael Johnson. And then he beat, he just destroyed Ally Quinta. It was a decision, but he won all 5 rounds. He won 50-42, which never happens. And he beats Conor McGregor in the way that he did. Finishes Dustin Poirier, finishes Justin Gaethje. When the finishes came, people gained a better appreciation for what they are inside the octagon. And I think that's happening for Islam now, because outside of Volkanovski fighting him well inside that first fight, it's been washout after washout for Makhachev, and he's really dominating these guys. But I think he has a different challenge ahead of him at 170, one that I know as a fact that these guys are prepared for, and they recognize how dangerous this is. Because again, Chael, when you do the investigators, when the investigative skills are pinging, you see Coach Javier Mendez say stuff about how tough Jack Della is. You see Khabib say how much he's improved. And you start going, these guys recognize the task. They understand the challenge that's ahead of their champion as he goes into this opportunity to try to become a two-weight champ. But every main event needs a co-main, Chael. Who should we put on under that fight?
All right. Now, are we doing the detective work? Are we doing the thing right now? Like,
yes,
you have a good idea?
No, I don't have an idea, but like if you say something, if there's anything in the world, I'll go, okay, I can start to decipher that.
Weili and Valentina is a lot closer to becoming a reality than we've discussed. Yeah, and I strongly believe if they don't go at Madison Square Garden in November, they will close out the show in December. But I also believe that's going to be Amanda's return, fighting for the championship. And I'm just sharing for you, I think Weili and Valentina is likely your co-main.
Oh, Chael. Okay, so what about end of the year card? Amanda Kayla, Weili Valentina, Josh Van Pantoja in the co-main event. Hey, Josh Van's young. That's the type of guy that will turn around quick. And Pantoja, he really has not been checked. Pantoja has been putting it on dudes lately. So I think Van Pantoja, because I think that we should go all female in December to end the year.
I love where your head's at, and I could see that from a marketing standpoint. Dana did put down the ultimate tease, and he did it a week ago, and he said, I got something. It's going to drive you guys crazy. You're going to run around with your heads cut off. It's so big, it's going to come together in 2025, and he left it at that. And I'm only sharing with you, those are the two real big ones, right? Chicago's already taken care of. One after that, we got Ankalaev. Yeah,
yep, and so Ankalaev.
I just can't imagine Dana's huge news being anything other than really huge news. I'm a mark for it. I love how we set it up. But we could have something that we don't see, and that's where the Josh Van. So you make a very good point, and Van and Pantoja are supposed to fight this year. So as we start to limit the dates, unless they're going to have their own fight night, which I don't think we predict, you're right. There's a lot of really good matches, and one of those cards could end up with 3 title fights.
Oh, that would be so good to have that many title fights in the year. But Islam left 155, Chael. So now you got a champion in Ilia Topuria, who deservedly is the man. I mean, he's as good as they come. But the BMF champ, who says Topuria's got to do that twice if he really wants to solidify his legacy, said that he's out until 2026. What does that mean for the lightweight division? Hey, the BMF champ said, though, if Topuria really wants to hammer home that legacy, he's got to do that twice.
I am so proud of Max Holloway for doing this. I mean, I got to tell you that the game that he is playing through the media, we would have laughed, and I believe, partner, we actually did. When Max started to say, well, I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to challenge Ilia Topuria. I'm going to defend that same BMF belt that I used as a golden ticket, go down to 145. It's the exciting guy at a different weight class. And we teased him. But all of a sudden, Max versus Ilia is not that far of a way. What an incredible claim by Max. You did it once, but you have to do it twice. I mean, that's how things become real. I watched Matt Hughes, not before he did the fight, after the fight was done, hold that belt up and say, you're not a champion until you defend it. That has gone through our industry for 20 years. There is absolutely no truth to it whatsoever. No. If they give you that belt one time, you are the champion. But I'm just saying, what a great job by Max. Oh, really? The first one doesn't count? You got to do it twice. Okay. All right, Max.
I'm in. But yeah, you're right. Isn't that the craziest thing that Matt Hughes said that, and now all of a sudden people, you know what's the most insane thing is that champions will say it. It's not the guy that they're fighting. Like, the guy that they're fighting might go, well, you're not the champ until you defend. So if Jack Della Maddalena goes to Bilal and goes, you ain't the champion until you defend. Now all of a sudden he beats him. Now you telling me Bilal Muhammad was never the UFC champion? Of course he was. You go to the record books, he was the UFC champion. So yes, but smart on Max Holloway because he's planting the seed for something else. And we all know he's a fighter. We know he's a killer. We still know he's world class because of his last performance down in New Orleans. But in terms of what it means for the lightweight division, it just really, this to me is the division that's most in flux because you have so many guys that have a claim to having a championship, be having a championship opportunity. Justin has a claim. Justin goes, hey, I lost to Max, but I'm 3-1 in my last 4 fights. Max Holloway can now say, I have a claim. I just became the first guy to defend the BMF championship. I won a title fight, and I have history with this guy. Paddy Pimblett has a claim. Arman Sarukian is the #1 contender. He has such a strong claim that he was on the marquee to fight the champion earlier this year. You got 4 dudes that have legitimate claims to fighting for the belt, but ultimately only one can. So who's going to get that fight, Chael? Who's going to get Topuria? And whoever gets Topuria, where does it leave the rest?
Sarukian is your answer. That fight is all but done. He also happens to be the right guy. Now, absent of an illness or injury, absent of something that's unforeseen, that fight will go down, and I don't believe it'll take place in this calendar year. You know, I mean, and I know that sounds like so long to say 2026. It's not. As you look at their calendar in the UFC, just what they've already released, you and I are discussing November and December right now. I only share. That is the fight. By the way, let me just give you a little insight to Sarukian. He is the right-hand man. He is the top training partner for Khamzat Chimaev right now. I find that to be interesting. He's doing his training with Coach Cal. I spoke to Coach Cal. I actually asked if I could come in and we could maybe steal a little bit of footage. And my point is, you just don't train at that level of Coach Cal in your off time. Right, no. That is not off-time training. That's not in between. And Ilia's biggest tell, everybody has a recipe for building a fight, but Ilia's recipe, whether he knows it or not, is to publicly deny a fight. That's one of his steps. He comes out, that guy is not good enough. I'm not interested. Bring me someone else. That's the first step into Topuria Promotion 101, and we checked that off the list a week ago.
Well, the problem with that is, it's like when he does that, it makes people start to say, you don't want it, so then they want it more. Like anything people can't have is what they pine for. I just think that the visual, man, of Paddy being in the ring is going to be hard to erase. Like, if you really wanted to salvage the opportunity to make Sarukian or make Justin Gaethje, I think they should have panned to them after Paddy Pimblett inside the octagon. The last memory we have is Joe, Paddy, and Ilya inside the octagon. That is hard, man, for people to forget. And I think that's why he might be the guy, when in reality, Arman should be the guy. It should be Sarukian. But I think...
Can I add something? Because I love where your head's at. I definitely don't disagree. I just feel that footage still works. I feel if Ilya is to win and still be champion, him and Paddy works, and that footage can be resurfaced.
Yes.
I feel if Ilya loses, he could still draw right into Paddy, and we call that, Paddy's final step before he gets for belt. I feel like that fight works either way. I don't think that footage is just going to go in the editing room floor, but I also did feel that Dana kind of pulled that back. Sarukian knows something. Paddy has been fairly quiet to the point that he was kind of looking for some business with Justin Gaethje. I think that division is well aware that the original plan of backup fighter Sarukian moves to next challenger, and I think that's going to be announced relatively soon.
And that would be amazing. That would be an awesome fight if those guys fought each other. I think that they are the two best lightweights in the world now that Islam Makhachev is not in that weight class anymore. I believe that if Arman doesn't fight Ilya, I think he'll fight Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is doing some really good work himself, going, Arman, you moron, I'm the only one that will fight you, because nobody else will, because Dan will give you a compliment. Hey, the reason they don't want to fight Arman is because he's very good at winning fights. He might not be the most exciting, he might not knock you out, he might not be the most dangerous, but he's very good at winning fights. So all the best guys are refusing to fight him. He goes, I'll fight him right now. And I believe that Dan Hooker may get that opportunity if Arman doesn't get the title fight.
And Daniel, I can never get my way. I can never get my way with like a magic wand in matchmaking, but please, somebody, please reserve Hooker for Max Holloway, and let's do it for the title. We got to put the belt up.
Dude, you just actually made the next BMF title fight. Because I was going to say the next BMF title fight is going to be Max versus Charles Oliveira, because those guys have been going back and forth chirping, because Oliveira still needs an opportunity or an opponent. So if it isn't Max Holloway, who for Oliveira?
Yeah, very, very, very interesting one. And I do agree with you. Don't forget, Max walks out of the ring. He walks onto the set of ESPN. He doesn't have his shirt on yet. I mean, he walked right out of the ring. They got his gloves off, but he's still got the wraps on. He's still sweating. It was this awesome moment. And his heart, in that moment where you're excited, in that moment where you have power, in that moment where you're going to sit down and give your message to the world, his message was Oliveira. But now, right, a week removed from that, 9 days removed from that, Max has revealed to us that he has an injury and it's going to sideline him for just a little bit. Now, again, a little bit is right around the corner, and that doesn't necessarily delay Oliveira, but I think it does open the door for something else. I think the door is wide open right now for 55-pounders to really go after this bone, and I'm not seeing them do it. And I got to bring the great Paddy the Baddy into that as well. He is not coming out and seizing a moment, which tells me the pieces are already put in place. We, the audience, just haven't got the reveal yet.
Well, the bone that they need to go after is the BMF championship. The BMF title seems to be the thing that puts you right in line to fight for the belt. It seems to be something that helps to separate you, even if it wasn't supposed to mean that. It seems to have that type of cachet to it, to where everybody's like, yo, I want to watch this dude fight, because I know he's fun, I know he deserves. But then when you look at that, right? So we say Max Holloway fights against Dan Hooker. Then we say Arman fights Ilya. Paddy's still out there. Gaethje's still out there. Who? Especially, knowing Gaethje said, I'm not fighting anyone but for the belt. What do we do with Justin?
Yeah. I want Justin to change that stance. Justin's position is not rude. He has been a team player from day one. That's true. He has done a lot of things that other people aren't willing to do, and he's even done it on short notice. He's taken huge risks by doing it. If he would have gone down to Fadzayev, I'm just saying, like in Justin's world and everything that he's accomplished, that would have really damaged his brand. He stepped up to do it anyway. I get what he's saying. He would like to be paid back a little bit. But Daniel, 2 of his last 4 were title fights. They were BMF title fights, but 2 of the last 4 were title fights. And you just have a different division, right? The champion left, a former champion came in. We got this big switch going. What's going to happen to Sarukian? Okay, Sarukian's back. Pat of the Batty, is he a famous guy or is he a good fighter? Turns out that he's both. Like, the division is very different, and I do think, I really wish that Justin would see it that way. I wish he would see that opportunities are amassed. He is still your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. I don't want him to make the threat of taking his ball, go home, because he's the kind of guy that he'll do it. He'll do it just to come out and prove a point because he said it. It's like, no, Justin, please, let's not forget. We use that chip as a marketing tool. It's a bit of a bluff. If your bluff gets called, move right on. Play the game again another day. And I do worry that Justin Gaethje may not remember that he started this just to get headlines. It wasn't real. It wasn't necessarily as real as I'm watching it become.
Oh, it's becoming very real, because what if they call you on it? Famously, Henry Cejudo did that. After he defended that belt against Dominic Cruz, I'm retiring. He wanted more money. He wanted all this stuff. And then eventually he came back. Here's the thing. Justin Gaethje will not come back. He's too stubborn. If he walks away from this thing because he doesn't get what he thinks he deserves, then he'll just be done. And MMA is worse when Justin Gaethje is not involved in it. So we need to try to find a way for Justin to find some sort of closure to this and move forward with someone. Problem is, he's going to have to fight one of those younger guys. It's just the way the game works. You know, he did it with Faziev, and he feels like that, right? Dropping the ladder back behind him for Faziev twice, he feels like is enough. He doesn't want to necessarily do it again, but I'm not sure he won't have to.
For 70 years, every single day, Disneyland has honored veterans with an American tradition.
Disney is dedicated to the ideals and the dreams that have created America.
Thank you, Walt. I'm delighted to be here for this happy occasion.
This is where heroes work. This is where veterans are celebrated. This is Disney.
So thinking of all these champions, we have some very dominant champions, some good champions. If you had to point to 3 people, man or woman, who would become champion in the next year, who would you think would be on a short list of athletes that you think could hold UFC gold in the next 16, 17 months?
Alex Pereira.
I was going to say that too.
On the list. And partner, I think it's going to be at heavyweight. Now, please don't forget, and perhaps I need to remind myself, when I first started pushing the narrative of Pereira and a title and heavyweight, I was pushing towards that interim belt. Heavyweight used to have twice the opportunity of everybody else, but I'm still going to throw Alex's name out there because whether I get it or not, I think I'm going to get real close. I think title opportunities are abundant for that young man. The winner, okay, I'm going to hedge a little bit, but the winner, whoever comes out between Khamzat and Dricus, is likely going to be able to keep that belt for a little bit of time. I think that they're going to be able to stay with that sum. And I'm going to give one to you, and you're going to wonder where it's coming from, but I believe Sean O'Malley gets his belt back.
Oh, really?
I don't know how much Merab, I don't know how long Merab can stay at 135 pounds. That definitely has an expiration date, just that weight class alone. I do believe that O'Malley is the star of that division, absent Merab. So I'm going to go with Pereira, the winner of our middleweight championship fight, and I'm going to go to Sugar Sean. Who do you got?
So the reason we're asking is because Henry Cejudo and Dominic Cruz both believe that Tatsuro Taira, who had a massive victory last week and will be champ by the end of next year, but I don't know how you pick anybody over Pantoja right now. Pantoja is just fighting so well. I'll say Zhang Wei Li, because she's going to get an opportunity to fight Valentina, and she would seem to have a good style for Valentina, especially the Valentina today, who's more cautious in terms of like wrestling. She doesn't strike as much as she used to. Wei Li can defend that. I'll say, let's go. I mean, obviously, Islam has an opportunity with Jack Della, right? Like, I'm not going to pick that, but Islam has an opportunity because technically right now, Islam Makhachev is not a champion. So essentially, he could either beat Jack or if he loses, go back down and challenge in the division where he was already the champion. And last one for me is going to be Pereira. I think Pereira, he has multiple opportunities. He can be the champ at heavyweight or he can be the champ at 205. Anybody that has two chances, you got to think they're right in the running, especially because Chael, no matter what he does, he's always close. Pereira's never far away from fighting for a UFC championship, regardless of the weight class that he's in. So I'm going Pereira, I'm going Islam, and I'm going to say Zhang Weili. The belt don't stray too far, Chael. That's why there haven't been many UFC champs in the history of the game.
Yeah. No, I like how you said that. Listen, I think you took a really safe road. I think Islam's a good pick in Ilya, but now these guys, for some reason, one of them wants to race the other one. Like if you and I were back in college wrestling, we would find a way to create a conversation to find out what weight you're going, and then I would make my moves based on that, and then we share the rumors we hear about Cael Sanderson and Brad Barron. Like that's just the way it would work. But these dudes aren't like that, man. They want it all. They want to take, they don't just want to have the belt. They want to take your dream away. Like Ilya Topuria is very misunderstood, but he is a straight up heel. That dude's got a black heart and he doesn't care about anybody but himself. He thinks he should have both 45 and 55 right now and the BMF. Like he wants all the hardware. And yeah, Islam's got a little touch of that competitor in himself. He also would like to just ruin the day for Ilya Topuria. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know that we're going to have a functional world where both of those guys are on top for long. It just seems like eventually those boys aren't going to get it right.
Well, they just want to, they want to win, but winning is sweeter if they get to stop the other guy from having success. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing because when we get it, it's going to make for one of the biggest fights in UFC history. And it's going to be, I can't wait. You're going to be there. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a nice week when Islam and Ilya finally do lock horns. Chael, talking about biggest fights in UFC history. Way back in 2011 at UFC 133, Rashad Evans fought Tito Ortiz. On this day, back in 2011, we had Rashad Evans, who had become a UFC champion, and Tito Ortiz, one of the greatest champions of all time, fighting. Rashad won by second round TKO. What do you remember about that fight?
Well, it was a little more competitive than just that result, we'll say. Now, let me remind you, it was a rematch, and the reason that matters is the first time they fought, Tito got a draw. Tito actually really knew what he was getting into, and Rashad's star was coming, and at that point, you're kind of wondering how much did Tito have left, but the answer turned out to be he's got enough. I mean, he went real close with Rashad. They did that, a rematch. It was actually on short notice. That was someone else's fight. Tito stepped in. I happened to be there in the arena. Nobody at that time could make an entrance like Tito Ortiz. I mean, they would throw that light. He'd have that hat on, pulled down. He's got his beady little eyes. He's got the double-sided flag. I mean, he killed it. That building showed up to see Tito, and there was even a little bit of a, for Rashad. And Rashad is very well loved, but on that specific night and where Tito was at in his career, Tito was just coming off a win over Ryan Bader. Just to remind you, he was pretty hot. What could be or what might, bring itself back in terms of some life to Tito's career? It was just an exciting night, and it was fairly competitive. I felt like Tito came out there hesitant. When you ask me what I remember, I felt like Tito, even though he had a draw, understood how tonight's going to go, and I want to do this as realistic, as competitive, but as safely as I can. And I do remember when he went down and the cover, which was the sign to us all, Tito's had enough for tonight. It was a great night, though. I mean, overall, it was a very big deal. That arena sold out. I was live, and Tito had a lot of fans. And this was on the East Coast where he didn't know he had fans. Tito Ortiz was still a very big deal.
Yeah, he was a very big deal, and it was an opportunity for Rashad to elevate himself. We talked about this earlier. You have to share the octagon with certain people to move yourself forward. That result allowed for Rashad to stay in contention much longer than he might have stayed after he had gotten beat, or maybe he earned a title fight versus John Jones right after that. So it was a big night for Rashad Evans to go out there and beat Tito Ortiz in the way that he did. But yeah, you know what's it kind of sucks too, because like Tito and Dana can't get on the same page. Tito's one of the biggest stars of all time. I would hope that at some point that settles itself to the point that he can every now and again just come out and take his ball like Chuck does. Because in that day, Tito was as big as Chuck, right? Chuck ultimately surpassed him. But back in the beginning, Tito Ortiz was what we saw in the magazines. When we thought fighting, we thought Tito Ortiz, and that carried all the way up to 2011. Chael, what a show. I am tired, dude. I still got 5 hours of stuff to do for Monster Energy. I'm so tired. I'm going to close my eyes for the next hour. What are you doing the rest of the day?
Tell Hans and those guys, tell them all I said what's happening. What am I going to do? I'm going to go over do some YouTube bits. I'm going to relax a little bit. We've got wrestling practice tonight.
Yes.
Takes us about an hour and 20 minutes with traffic to get there. So with drive time and 2 hours of training, it kind of takes up most of our evening. But I'll fill a day between now and then. My dog's looking at me right now, so that means he wants to go for a walk.
Yes.
I'll find something to do, partner.
My man, Thero's got some wrestling tonight. Let me know how my guy does. Guys, for the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Until next time, peace. We're going to see you on Thursday.